Foundation, and to Aditi Ji, and to the judges again, Namita Ji, Nita Gupta, Sandeep Kutura, and all of you here, the Ambassador Saab, Jaipur Bookmark. This is a huge honor for me. I think I said in the press conference that translators are rarely honored alone. We're always part of a pair, which we don't mind. That's a choice we made, but it feels odd for me to be alone up on the stage without my partner. We're always in a Geordie. And so even though I'm here alone, I suddenly felt that when I stood up here, I would want to spend my whole time giving out thanks to the people that brought me to this place, all the people that I feel are with me all the time when I'm translating. And she is the person that taught me to love grammar. And I know this sounds weird to anybody that's studied the Latin language because it's known for its dryness and its dullness. But for me, I always loved to learn the nitty-gritty of every single grammatical construction. So for example, the ablative absolute, where you say, having done one thing, having done another thing, this act was committed. And you hear this a lot in Julius Caesar's Gallic Wars, which is an extremely boring text, but also full of grammar gems. And that's of course the same as in Hindi, using karke, bolke. That's an ablative absolute too, in my mind at least. So that was the underpinning of Latin, is always in my love of grammar and in my desire to learn new languages. Then I think of my French teacher, Madame Grade, who was a Viennese refugee from the Holocaust. And she was a small, sturdy woman and extremely fierce. And the way she taught us to get the French accent works right was she'd take a ballpoint pen. If we got it wrong, she would just tear into our skin, saying accent, accent, accent. Like so this was also a bit brutal, but I'll never forget where an accent goes in French. And I'm still grateful to her for instilling the need to know grammar absolutely perfectly. So again, thank you, Madame Grade. For some reason, I just said, all right, I'm going to try Hindi. And so it was really Suzanne Huber-Rudolph that sent me on that path. And she, I believe, was maybe not an organizer of this festival, but a really ardent supporter and participant in the early days of the festival. And her son, yes. So this Hindi class I took was with Colin P. Masika. And he was not Indian. Many people think that that's odd. He was not Indian. He was a brilliant linguist who knew something about probably every language in the world that you could mention. And he had somehow accidentally ended up teaching Hindi. They needed a Hindi teacher, and he knew it fairly well, and they asked him to come back from his research. So we learned these kind of colonial sentences. But he also taught me a lot about the beauty of grammar, of Hindi grammar, and of Indic languages, and helped me come to India for the first time in, I think it was 1989, and I went to the Landower Language School, and they have this wonderful way of drilling you with the same sentence over and over and over again. So the teacher will say, I cook, I used to cook, I will cook, I have been cooking, and you just have to keep spitting it out. And I remember particularly a teacher named Dinker Rai who sat in this musty room with all these old monk bottles filled with water along the windowsill. And every time you got it right, he would say, right. And so I still actually say that sometimes to my students, because to me it's like the ultimate compliment. Right. So that's how I first started learning to speak Hindi and not just to think of it analytically. Okay, linguistics is math games. So basically he refused to be my guide unless I went into literature, and so I accepted that chunauti and I became. In my first year of graduate school, I had this amazing good fortune to take a translation seminar. Ahmed, who's not my guru, but I think of him as my tarjuman, my fellow translator, and we message each other almost every day, discussing problems of translation from Hindi into Urdu, into English, and all the ways around, because he's equally fluent and has an amazing grasp of both Hindi and Urdu. So he's somebody that I feel like I couldn't stand here alone and taken a word without offering him my gratitude. Now I want to add a more humorous thank you to my Twitter community. I know that Twitter is evil, and I acknowledge that, but Twitter has also been a godsend to me as a translator, because there's times when something isn't in a dictionary, and Aftab doesn't know it, and nobody seems to know it, and it can often be because I've translated a lot of work that's set in the 30s and 40s, and there are obsolete practices and words and architecture and foods and things like that. So if I go on Twitter, I have built this huge community where I'll put out a plea, please help me with this. And within about 20 minutes, I'll usually have the answer. People go ask their Punjabi grandmother, or they happen to have heard something at some time, because these are often things that happen in Punjab around the partition era. Sheher mein ghumta aina by Ashk. And a woman was described as having a mark on her face that resembled a Lahori porda. And I didn't know what that meant. For those who don't know Hindi or Urdu, that means like a boil or cyst, like from Lahore, or of the style of Lahore. So I put this on Twitter, and of course all I got back were ridiculous jokes from the Pakistani Punjabi community that helps me out. So then I said, okay, everybody, enough with the jokes. I need a Lahori dermatologist. And he was produced within about half an hour, and he explained that it was leishmaniasis, which is like this horrible condition where bugs nest under the skin, especially in tropical. Thank you, Namitaji, and thank you to the Vani Foundation, and to Aditi ji, and to the judges again, Namitaji, Nita Gupta, Sandeep Kutura, and all of you here, the Ambassador Sab, Jaipur Bookmark. This is a huge honor for me. I think I said in the press conference that translators are rarely honored alone. We're always part of a pair, which we don't mind. That's a choice we made, but it feels odd for me to be alone up on the stage without my partner.